To celebrate the Arctic front, I went ahead and did this. Some people I know who have a similar hairstyle do it every week. They buzz every week to keep their hair manageable. I allowed the hair to grow for about 3 months before I decided to buzz it all off again. This action answers another question, which is, do I really like this hairstyle, or was it a one-time thing? I like it for the comfort. Really. I know that winter seems an odd choice to have made this decision. I checked my logs. I first buzzed my hair on November 11th? Something around there. Which was heading into winter, the Canadian winter. Now I've buzzed it again. I really do think it's comfortable, convenient, and I'll be keeping this hairstyle for the foreseeable future. I like feeling it too. Feels good. But the Arctic front, I can feel. Yes. What do I want to comment now that we are well into 2021? In reviewing my previous vlogs, I think I've known that the adventure life has changed forever. The question is, how will we resume some of our adventures? It's actually a lot more thought than I'm willing to invest right now. It's partly why I've been allowing the pandemic to run its course outside while I adventure here. Because part of the problem is I've no solutions. Maybe I should reframe that. My fortress position is I have no solutions. Other people are being paid the big bucks. They wanted power, they got it. Now they're the ones who have to bear the responsibility of solving the pandemic. They're the ones who have to bear the responsibility of everyone else questioning their solving of the pandemic. That's way above my pay grade right now. So that's why I'm just doing what I do best, which is adapt. The obvious question would be, when does adapting become being a pushover? It's a relevant question. Do I have a relevant answer? Maybe for me, I've identified a number of opportunities that would have just kept laying dormant if I continued to adventure travel, adventure extreme sport, etc., etc. So I think of this pandemic as a brief reordering. In some ways, this reordering might have been the best creative opportunity for me. The problem, the head-to-head always occurs between adventure and creativity. Adventure fuels creativity, and for me, creativity is sporadic or moody. So continuing to adventure seems the best use of time, because at least I'm continuing to accumulate the fuel for creativity. But eventually, creativity does need an opportunity to breathe, and I think that, at least for me, they're largely mutually exclusive. Have I been sometimes creative while adventuring? Yes. Sometimes I've written pieces on the road, little bits here and there. But what I mean is the cohesive, long-form creativity, aside from vlogging, I really need some stable peace and quiet. Yes, for someone as spontaneous and adventurous and wild as me, that might seem like something that would really restrict me. But I think it's a matter of having too many things at one time, both of which are major functions that can take over your entire brain. Adventuring can take over your entire brain. Creativity can take over your entire brain. Maybe more accurately, they actually should take over your entire brain. When you're adventuring, you really need all of your available brain real estate to keep yourself alive and safe and healthy, especially in circumstances and scenarios where you take on more risk than you do in normal life. Yeah, I think so. So what I'm currently in the middle of is story development hell. The first couple weeks of 2021, I technically tested myself. So now I know that everything that I envision can be done from a technical standpoint using the existing software, Adobe. But now that I know that the technical questions are resolved, at least to a rough degree, I want a cohesive story to drive the rest of my rockumentary progress. The interesting phenomenon is that storyboarding is really the same as my philosophical mindset day to day, but it has more structure, and that's what makes it difficult. Yes, I can question myself day to day, I can philosophically debate myself day to day, but those are largely fun exercises without a direction. Now that I have a point to make, a rockumentary objective, this is the hard phase. This is the phase where I actually have to make things make sense. In many ways, this is, again, me burning my value system to the ground and creating it back up again, except documenting it this time. How do I go about doing this in a way that satisfies my questions, my journey, and might have some appeal to those outside? That's the constant conflict that I'm in with myself. Do I care? Does this change anything? Right now, all I'm thinking about is writing a story that interweaves my philosophies, whether this has any wider appeal has to actually remain outside of my considerations, because I think that really fucks with the process. Other people might be able to do it. Other people, i.e. celebrities, might even do that as their de facto because they want fame. But I am a slave to the creativity. So for me, telling the story is purely a creative exercise. It's an exercise in communication skills. That's really all it is. You notice my brain is fighting itself, so while it's fighting, I'll dance. Okay. Mentioned previously that my down rock, which is all the floor work, is usually just freestyle, mostly because I find floor work, down rock, difficult to really train for. The training aspect of it comes mostly when I'm practicing. I'll train all the moves, but then what happens on the day of new breaking choreography happens as it happens. The top rock, I practice. The stand-up dancing, I practice. But the down rock, I just freestyle because that seems to have worked out well enough for me. Ooh, today I'm a little winded for some reason. Maybe I'm philosophizing too much. I'm using too much of my brain real estate. That's the thing. Aside from the rockumentary creativity, the dancing creativity would never have happened on the same scale as it has during this forced break. So in some ways, I'm okay-ish with the outcome as long as the restrictions are limited to maybe the middle of the year 2021. After that, who knows? As most people, I'm just living a roller coaster up and down day to day as well, because I think this time has forced some tough thoughts and actions from everybody. So that's why I try my best to just be light when I can be. I think I've been surprisingly light most of the time because, again, the adventures I've found in dancing, choreographing, and editing a rockumentary have kept me going. But as I commented before, the pandemic has really changed life forever, but it's hard to know what the outcome will be. This Arctic front is really taken my breath away. Well, the dancing has taken my breath away, but I'm just in a reflective mood, trying to think of next steps, both in dance and in life. The thing is that editing a rockumentary has forced me to basically undertake my value system process again from the ground up, but I'm wondering how exactly I should document it. In many ways, I've already documented it in vlog form ever since the beginning. So I have hours and hours and hours of footage. Maybe more accurately, what I'm doing is I'm refining and updating it to the current version. But does my current version differ? Well, yes, it does, because the pandemic has forced me to rethink everything, just like it's forced probably everybody to rethink everything. Have I come to different conclusions, though? I think largely my conclusions are the same, because my conclusions factored in from before that this life has always been very precarious. Maybe we were luckily living through the longest stretch of quote-unquote good times, but we've always had impending epidemics, pandemics, natural disasters, etc., that can change your life or end your life on a moment's notice. That mentality, that knowing, had driven me to achieve all that I had pre-pandemic. So what has this pandemic taught me? then that's different from what I had already anticipated. I think part of my problem is I'm trying to coalesce a number of difficult philosophical topics in a light manner, in a comedic manner. Maybe light's the wrong word. Comedic can still be difficult, just entertaining. So that's the better word to use, comedic. Okay, and while I'm thinking, I'll dance again. That was an experiment in complete freestyle. And I'm just wiped. This Arctic front has wiped me out, I think. I'll blame it on that. This is also Chinese New Year Eve somewhere in the world. So maybe a second New Year within a month of the first New Year forces you to think and just reflect. But part of thinking and reflecting makes you moody, really. At least it does for me. It's maybe why some people try to avoid it, but it's important. Okay, one last time. Ooh. partly what was bothering me. I should have pulled it out on air. I had a tiny hair from my buzz poking into my hand like a splinter. So that's why. Yes, I'll blame my poor dancing on my hairstyle. That's the thing. On the day, and even the many days after you buzz, you can find tiny hairs around, which is better than big long hairs, but still. Shit is what it is. I'm obviously just either lazy or subdued, one of the two, or both. I'm just feeling some sort of mood, but it's hard to put to words what that mood is. It's partially why I try to allow the creativity to flow the way it wants to. Because even if I were to try to force myself to do things, nothing really good would come out of it. Vlogging, I actually never force myself. I largely combine opportunity with some discipline, with some natural ability. So I've never felt forced to do anything since I massively changed my life around. About a decade ago. A little more than a decade ago. But still, even in that free flow, some days the art comes out more to my liking, and some days the art comes out less to my liking. Today's gonna be one of those less to my liking days. But it is what it is. What is it that I want to include in this documentary? I know the only limit is my ability as a storyteller. I believe enough in my ability as a storyteller. I do. But still, you're gonna have to go through the cycle. And this is what it is. That's why I anticipated that even a first draft would take me probably until the pandemic resolves. So that's gonna be my goal. I'm gonna tie my goal to that. Before the pandemic resolves, I'll have a first draft of my rockumentary. Yeah. That's really all I can do at this point. What else? Nah, today's just a lazy, subdued day. The Arctic front's blown away my brains.